And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and welcome to episode number 300. What began as a passion project 3.5 years ago of, hey, I've always wanted to do a podcast. Now we're into season 4. We're a little bit over halfway through our 4th season. This is our 300th episode, and thanks so much for joining and listening and subscribing or following us or checking out our content.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
If you've got a goal, a dream, I'll just lean on our word of the year right now. Be a pioneer, be bold, be courageous, go after it, go hit new frontiers. I remember first exploring the idea of a podcast. It was over the Christmas holiday. So let's see, our first episode would have launched on February 18th, 2022. So it would have been recorded a little bit before then, I guess February 22. So it was at the end of 2021. And I just had this nagging desire for at least a year, maybe 2 or 3 years to do a podcast. And so I started doing some research, where do you even start, and came across our agency now. Shout out to Marina and Ernesto and Allison and Charlene, our production company and agency at Through the Noise. And I lucked into coming across them. I reached out to multiple folks about podcast agency and got into it, and we got connected. And then they helped me find a studio in Charlotte. Shout out to Tim Campbell and Vocal Inc. Production, or a Vocal Inc. studio over there in Charlotte, and Tim Campbell, he's helped us. And so we've had people come along the journey. I remember just talking to them about it. Well, how would this thing work? And, I thought that I would, I said, what I can do? I can do 1 hour a week conversation. And I just thought it'd be like audio, and you learn things along the way. And they were like, no. It's going to be video. You need to take advantage of the YouTube platform and the video format. And I kind of pushed back. That wasn't what I had in mind. That wasn't my expectation. I was like, no, I got a face for radio, man. I want to be behind the microphone and I just want to talk to people, and I just want to try this and get it started. I will tell you, they were right on that recommendation. YouTube has only grown, and the YouTube platform and the video platform really, I would say, added like 90% complexity, in my opinion. It made it a lot more challenging and difficult in a lot of ways. I'll give you a couple of examples. The cameras, the recording. We started with GoPro cameras, and then we always had technology problems, and they were like, well, you could get better cameras. Yes, we need better cameras. And then, we'd come into battery failures and things of that nature. And so I think going on YouTube was right, but it always made reviewing them, editing them, we got more complex. We would add different like images and graphics and things with the video. Adds a lot more in post-production, adds a lot more to the review, adds a lot more of just complexity. And so starting a podcast, I think we were a little bit on the forefront before, most of the top podcast folks had kind of gone that direction. A lot of them do it now, and those who aren't doing it are contemplating doing it and thinking that they should do it. I became a big fan of podcasts for several years. I remember, I think I started listening to a lot of Guy Raz and How I Built This, probably back in, I want to say 2017, 2018, or 2019, thereabouts. It was before the pandemic. And just going through like just hundreds of hours and then maybe thousands of hours. I just, you could always listen to audio while you were, biking or running or walking or driving or lifting weights at the gym, working out, or, doing other things, folding laundry. It was a good way to kind of just kind of do two things at once, I guess, and make the most of your time and learn and listen as you go. And I don't know, just really being a more mobile person, I just kind of really enjoyed that aspect of it and really loved like the deep form, long form storytelling. And that really resonated with me on so many of these podcasts. I remember like some of the storytelling, like Land of the Giants. That was a great series from way back when. Business Wars. And then I got the book, Business Wars. I even got Guy Raz's book, How I Built This, by the way. Which ironically, I don't really listen to some of those original, like I don't listen to How I Built This anymore. I've gone into, gravitated towards other ones. But it just sparked an interest. Like I want to kind of get into podcasting and I'll do it as a passion project. And, what I would notice and the way I would describe it is like I would listen to the same person being interviewed across multiple podcasts. And it was this like polished speaker or author who was making the rounds and doing the press, the public relations and the press junket for releasing their new book or whatever they're selling, what have you. And very polished. And they were saying the same thing across like half a dozen different podcasts. And I was like, you know what? There's no one really telling the story of the everyday heroes at retail, and I just felt like privileged to have a front row seat to these amazing stories, of our memory makers and what happens every single day at retail. And so I really just started by wanting to kind of elevate, shine a spotlight and tell those stories. I thought I would have one conversation a week. And I really wanted to do it for 1 year. And then I wanted to hand it off to someone else. I thought actually Heather Greenwood would take it over after the first year. And I interviewed her. She was on our second ever episode. She's been a guest host many times. And she's like, yeah, I love it. I'm going to take it over. And then her work got more complex and she started taking on more. And then by the end of that year, she didn't have time to take it on as a full-time host. And I was like, it is a lot of work. So I understood that. And I was like, okay, but I don't want it to die. So then what? So, then at the end of the first year, because I went through a little bit of burnout in that first year, if I'm being honest. I'm going to explain why in a minute. But then I was like, okay, well, what do? We'll go to twice a week. I don't know why I did that, but we went to twice a week instead of once a week. And I decided to keep doing it, to keep it going. So we used to publish on Wednesdays the first year. Then we went to Tuesdays and Thursdays. The first year, I think our episodes were too long. We were doing the Joe Rogan type, Andrew Huberman, Rich Roll type 2-3 hour. I mean, they'd be like 1 hour or more. And then I'd break them up into 2 episodes at times. And we said, okay, let's try to have a 30-minute time limit or less. And that became a little bit more manageable. The post-production on a 1 hour episode is long. By the way, when I first started listening to podcasts, I always listened at 1x speed. I never accelerated the speed. And other people I'd listen to it, they'd say, I'll listen to 2x. I listen to 1.5. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to miss it. I'm going to end up rewinding it and going back and replaying it multiple times. Now I'm a 1.25x speed, and I've just gotten used to that. And that actually sounds normal to me. And now if my boys get in the car with me, my sons, they're like, Dad, is that faster? Why are you listening to, they sound like they're talking fast. So I've gotten used to 1.25. I don't know that I really want to go to 1.5 or 1.75 or 2x. I know a lot of people do that. They may do that on this podcast just to get through it if they listen to it. But so we do, that's what I personally do, just to kind of get through about 25% more content. And you can do that on YouTube now too. So you can, as most of you, I'm slow to learn. I'm sure everyone else learns. What I think our agency got wrong on their advice, or maybe it was good advice, but what I bristled at also besides the video was, and I think this is what led to a little bit of my burnout. They said, well, listen, you're a busy executive, and the way this works is you're going to do you need to do them all 1 day a month. I was like, that's not really what I had in mind. I want to do one per week. No. You're busy. Just come all in 1 day a month and knock them out. All right. Well, so, I was doing a lot of pre-production, and I was doing long form storytelling. So in interviews with our people, so I was coming up with the questions, and then I'd have to customize the questions based off of, I'd have a set list, and then I'd kind of customize the questions based off of that person's history and story and their career with Broad River. And I wanted it to be personal to them. So I'd do some research and work on that. And then we would kind of have a prep call and talk about it. And then, I've got to do that 4 times because I'm doing 4 interviews. I've got to have multiple outfits because I'm on video. I don't want to look like I'm wearing the same thing every single week. And so then you got to kind of steam your clothes, iron your clothes, get them all ready. And so I'd end up taking a closet in my car of different pants and shoes and belts and shirts and solid colors because you can't have patterns for the moire effect, apparently. The prep work afterwards would be a lot of work. So then I'm really staring at someone intently for like an hour, hour and a half. And this is how the batteries would fail because we'd burn them up. This would be like 6-hour block of time. And I felt like the quality wasn't there because first of all, I'm learning, getting used to it. And I'm staring intently at someone's eyes for like an hour listening to them. And I'm doing that times 4. And let's say it'd be about 6 hours. And there's a lot of work, prep time, a lot of work afterwards. And I remember like maybe if we recorded on a Friday, I'd go home. I'm like, Kelly would want to have a conversation. I'm like, babe, I can't. No, nothing. I'm done. I can't listen to anyone for one more second. I've had a spotlight on me for 6 hours, staring intently at people's eyes, listening to them, trying to be fully focused and attentive to what they're talking about and not being robotic, but kind of listening for like how to respond naturally and having a conversation. And I wasn't used to having 6 hours of one-on-one conversation, like deeply listening and while a spotlight under me. So that was so I think I was right on my instinct to not cram them all in one day a month. We do that a little bit differently, which has put more pressure maybe on the agency. So I apologize for that. But less pressure on me. But now we've brought some help on board. Caitlin helped us for a couple of years, and now Tyler's come on board, and then we've had guest hosts who've kind of done a great job, kind of getting their feet wet. We've had Manny be the guest host multiple times, Heather be a guest host multiple times. We've had Kim Harkness be a guest host. Tyler's been a host, and we've had Hope Stocker. She's been a very popular host. Oprah. She's done a great job. Sam Bloom has come and hosted some episodes. And so we've had multiple leaders kind of, take the ball and run with it, so to speak, and be a host and just kind of give me a break, honestly. And one thing that Tyler's done that I think has been great is he's really started testing and iterating and learning about the algorithms. And so he'll kind of give us some advice on the title or the topic. Hey, this will play well. And then he'll do a lot of these shorts and these reels, and he'll use those reels to kind of publish to LinkedIn or to publish to YouTube. And those seem to resonate. And he'll say, hey, I just got one that kind of went for 15,000 views or randomly. He's had some fun kind of tinkering with that and kind of what I've noticed is it's interesting. He might do a 15-second or a 30-second or a 1-minute reel, and he'll publish that to LinkedIn. And that's like really sometimes the only thing that people listen to. They don't actually go and listen to the full 20 or 30-minute episode. They'll just comment on that 1 minute, like, your greatest hits, I think. But people are busy and that's what they see. And they might, a lot of people are, engaging on the LinkedIn platform. We probably need to use Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Reels and whatnot, other platforms a little bit more. We've really kind of focused on YouTube and LinkedIn. There's probably more that we can do with that. We've really gone towards more series where it was kind of started off as kind of long form interviews, deep dives into someone's career at the river. And now we've kind of gone into like some of the events that we've had. And so if you kind of look at this past summer, we broke the Founder Scholarship Fund. We did another series on that. We did a series on, the GM series that Heather did. We did the monthly budgets explained, how we play the game, our version of the great game of business, that talk at the GMRX. We did the Lighthouse Fund series. So if we have an announcement, we might create a little mini series out of that. So we've had these various series. We're going to have a few more coming up. We've got a really exciting event. Well, we got several exciting events. So we've done some series from our grand openings, store openings. We've got a Columbia grand reopening event. We'll do a series and some interviews from that about what went into that store remodel and renovation. We've got our 4th annual Home Furnishings Expert Soiree. We're moving it from State 48 to STK Steakhouse in Uptown Charlotte. And so we'll do some content as a follow-up from that event. That is August 19th, and the Columbia Grand reopening is August 26th. I am recording this on August 13th, by the way, and we have a company-wide town hall on August 15th. We've done a follow-up on the makings of a town hall call. And then we've got a really exciting single-day event and I can talk about it now because the cat's out of the bag, Pioneering the Path, a Purpose 828 experience on August 28th. It's an offshoot of our Project Nucleus, which is kind of our focus on the GMs and the retail leaders in our stores. And we're giving them a deep dive, full day immersion, day of development, growth and development workshop. And so it's going to be on August 28th, building on our heritage and legacy of Purpose 828. And so we've got 2 keynote speakers, which is Kristen Hadid is coming in the morning to open the session, and then John Acuff is coming in to close us out. 2 powerhouse speakers, and then in between that, we've got some immersive workshops with curated content that they've asked for, and then a whole Shark Tank project, and some exciting stuff coming on the other end of that afterwards. So really excited to talk about that. And then I'll have a follow-up interview with Kristen Hadid on this podcast and her experience at the river. And then, several of us, we had 19 of us. You just saw the video on Tuesday that we released from an interview I gave at the Global Leadership Summit host site. This was a nice sheet they presented. They put it as an insert into this one. And this is the booklet. And so at the Park Expo and Convention Center, there was a host site. There were 600 host sites around the world, I think, maybe 500 in the United States for the Global Leadership Summit. And the Park Expo and Convention Center was where you could go with your team and watch it virtually. It's held in Chicago. And so there's 2 days of 10 powerhouse world-class speakers. And so, we're going to do, and so I was interviewed on the first day 1 of that at the local host site. And that was the episode that just published on Tuesday, my interview with Jacatrin Potts. And he's the director of community care at the Park Church. Had fun being interviewed by him and appreciated being asked and humbled to be asked. And then we're going to do a Global Leadership Summit recap series on our learnings from our 19 memory makers who attended that 2-day session. It was like drinking from a fire hose. So we've got a lot of content queued up, planned. I just gave you kind of a little bit of the tip of the spear, tip of the iceberg. And we'll try to think of, kind of opening up the playbook, more content that we can kind of come out. We'll go back into more of the storytelling and the deep dive interviews. I think those are always popular, and just how we can kind of keep this innovative and fresh, and given the reveal of what happens from the river. The unintended benefits I think that we've had from the podcast. I would tell you that a lot of our people have engaged with it. They've learned about each other. They're staying abreast of kind of what's happening in the company. But really, a lot of people who are thinking about joining the company, those folks who are potential memory makers or being recruited by us or considering us, a lot of them hit the podcast, and they might learn about the manager who they're going to be reporting to or working with, or the store where they're going to be, or some of the events. And it's really elevated our company brand in that regard, or just giving them insight into hey, here's our authentic culture. We're being transparent here. We're sharing, and it's really helped them kind of engage at that level. And so that's been, I think, an unexpected benefit from it. We've learned a lot. Probably my greatest joy in doing the podcast is when we feature someone and the spotlight is on them, and they get to share it with their family, their friends, their kids, and they light up. And I love that. I love getting the text messages or hearing from them. Sometimes they're a little bit shy or nervous. They don't want to watch it. But sometimes they'll share what their mom or their dad or their or their grandfather or their daughter or son said. And it's really, really cool. And I think it's cool to elevate them and tell their story. They don't know how they're sacrificing or what they're achieving at work. And sometimes it's really cool stuff, really amazing stuff. And they're really well spoken, and they have great insights to share. And so that's probably been my biggest joy in doing it, is just kind of seeing them light up and telling their story and really shining the spotlight on them. So I'm glad that we've done it. Thank you for indulging me and having some reflections here. We've had some wins and losses. We've had some technology gaffes. We had one where we lost the video. I felt really bad about that. with Coda, but we salvaged the audio. We've had other times where we thought we may have lost the audio or video, but we saved it somehow. And our shout out to our producer Marina. She's done a fantastic job, really caring for and looking after the content and the quality. Through the Noise has been just a joy to work with for the last 3.5 years, and they always try to put us in the best light. The world's changed a lot in the last 3.5 years. There was really no one heard about ChatGPT and how AI is transforming the world. Podcasts have grown immensely since we started. I mean, I thought we were late to the game, and maybe we were early to the game in going down this path. It is a lot of work. I think I'm glad that Tyler's going to kind of get more and more involved, because I think we need just more refinement on the copy and the curation of the storytelling and how we kind of tell our story authentically. And so I think there's some opportunities there, and just kind of be more prepared for it and have more people kind of responsible for looking after it. We plan to keep it going as far as I know. And I enjoy doing it. I don't enjoy all of the work that goes into it at times, but sometimes I love having some help to kind of help produce some great content for us and kind of elevate Broad River's just brand. And also, I think to some extent, it's us kind of just sharing back out with our industry or sharing back out with our community, kind of what we do. And there's probably not enough people telling those stories that help inspire. We've gotten a lot of great feedback on the Lighthouse Fund and what we're doing there. And that's really cool to tell that story and to also acknowledge other companies who really helped us or other partners who really help us kind of walk alongside us and give them shout outs as well. Look, I don't know what some of my favorite episodes were, but having my mom and my sister on the podcast was kind of cool. And I thought they did a great job. And I will say that our number one fan is my mom. She watches and listens to every single episode, and I send it. I make sure I send it to her. Mom, you can subscribe, and they'll automatically come to you. But I'll be happy to keep emailing them to you. And so she's been on the podcast, and she always gives me some great encouragement and feedback. So that's been kind of cool. But the world's changed, but Broad River's changed, and we continue to grow. And so we're here kind of at the mid-year mark. And so where are we as a company? We're still on our path to chase down our goal of $272 million this year to kind of get back on that 10% growth target. We dug ourselves a little bit into a hole the first 8 weeks, and we've really been scooping the water out of the canoe, the water that we took on, and getting almost just right back on track. We were so close. And really the last 9, 10, 11 weeks, we've had so much momentum, and the retail performance team is just doing a phenomenal job. And there's all other teams that are really chipping in, from merchandising, from marketing, from visual impact, and our store scores, from retail operations to operations, supply chain operations, increasing capacity, making sure that our KPIs don't suffer, and we continue to get more product out the door. So the team is winning. We just came off our best month ever, best July ever, which is really, really exciting. So we had a phenomenal July where the momentum is started really in June, best July we've ever had, and really strong in August. We've absorbed, any kind of impact from the tariffs thus far, and our customers our marketing's better, our traffic's up, and we continue with store remodels and renovations. Project Cascade is alive and well. We're trying to get that big store in Spokane, Washington, open, hopefully by the end of this year. It's a big project, 3-story store, with an escalator and elevators, and we've not done one like that as we've shared here. Look, we're starting budget season for 2026. So it's August, and that's when you start going into your budget strategy. So kind of where we're going to grow, what we're going to accomplish, what our financial targets are going to be. So it's one of the busiest seasons ever right now at Broad River, with all of the events that we have going on this month of August. And then, from Labor Day to Black Friday weekend is really the busiest kind of 95-day tent pole to tent pole season for us in the stores. You get more and more folks cross the $1 million mark, and our stores are going after their goals. And so I would tell you right now, I'm very confident, high degree of confidence that we're going to achieve our goals this year, which is year one of our 6-year vision to double the company's sales by 2030. So I want to say that out loud because I want to make sure that we acknowledge it, we've stated it, and that we want to be accountable to that. So it's not going to be easy. It's a bold 6-year target of where we want to get to by 2030. But we're motivated and driven. We've got great people, great leaders who care about the company and love the company and protect the company and work really hard to kind of make it a great company. And we couldn't do anything without our amazing memory makers who really make it what it is. And so for all of you who follow us, who listen to us, who cheer us on, who support us, our partners, our friends, or just future memory makers or current memory makers, thank you. I got to visit the Mooresville store this past week on Monday, and I was going to, for a couple of reasons. I wanted to check on the remodel and renovation. They're going to a 7.0 store, and they're about 50% of the way there. We're going to be celebrating a grand reopening for them in less than 2 months on October 7th. And so the store, the 50% that's done looks amazing, and the other 50% will look amazing once it's done. And they've really been managing well in kind of a little bit of a smaller store while it's being disrupted. They've done well. And I wanted to go congratulate Sandy Rulin in person. She just crossed the $1 million mark again. We've had 7 so far this year, and I think she was number 5. And she crossed, I think, while I was about to start going on a family vacation, and so we didn't get a chance to chat, so I wanted to go see her in person. And I just so happened to be there on Dan Pashala's 65th birthday. He said, he was so nonchalant about it. He goes, I got my Medicare card today. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I said, is today your birthday? He goes, yeah. He was so just nonchalant about it. I said, well, happy birthday. It was a milestone birthday for him. And, Dan is a legend. He has been with us. He started with us in early February 2015. And he's had, some physical ailments along the way, but he's overcome all of those. And this will be his 11th year in a row, which is a record, to be $1 million memory maker. So he did it his first year, which was not a full year in 2015. And we had all those issues in 2015. He did it that year, regardless of the issues we had and not being a full year. And he's done it every year since, in spite of whatever he's been dealing with, in spite of COVID, etc. And he's just so humble. He's got such a good heart. And so I just want to give Dan a shout out for 11 years running. He's less than $100,000 away. He's going to cross that with ease and then some. I think he's having one of his best years ever. And happy birthday to him. It was great to see him in the store. And so anyways, it's always great to kind of connect with our people in IRL, in real life. And what else is happening in the world? I thought about opening with this. Taylor Swift just broke the internet yesterday. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that she on her 12th studio album at 12/12, on the 12th of August, she announced it on her boyfriend Travis Kelce's, he and his brother's podcast, that she's coming out with her new album. And it's like, I read that the orange era was upon us. And I kind of thought Ashley had the orange era. Is that a good thing that she's acknowledging the orange era, or do we now have to compete with her for the color orange? I'm going to say it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Taylor's coming over to the orange era with Ashley. And so the orange era is upon us. And I think I'll just leave it right there. Thanks so much for listening so whatever version of the past 300 episodes. We made it to 300. I don't know if I knew that was possible. I was just happy to get through the first year. We're in year 4, midway through year 4, and we got a lot of great content. Maybe we're just getting started. So thanks so much for joining us here at Stories from the River. You can check us out every Tuesday and Thursday on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Apple or Spotify, YouTube, or some other version that we don't know about, or the short reels that we might publish to LinkedIn. So thanks so much for joining us and engaging in our content. Do us a favor, if you would, leave us a rating or review. That certainly helps us and we love your feedback. So let us know how we're doing, what you'd like to see doing. A little bit of praise or encouragement goes a long way. So thanks so much of those you guys who are cheering us on and giving us some encouragement as well. We appreciate it, and we'll see you here next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.